Folks, it's Mother's Day, and I often think of Mother's Day as Host Day. Host Day. The day you popped in for this most recent time-space run, and in that popping in, you either elevated an expression of feminine humanity to the noble rank of mother, or you promoted her to a higher rank in the numerology of motherhood. But I invite you to stop for a moment right now. Take a deep breath and imagine, if you will, how it was to be with her in that moment when she was so full and so ripe with new manifestation, so full and so ripe with you. Yeah, be there. Absorb the experience. Capture its significance. This being, who is your mother, responded to the call of your soul and dedicated her body to giving you another opportunity to discover the grace of living a spiritually informed earth existence. Bless her. Thank her. If she never saw you again, you owe her. She laid her physical existence on the line for you. Remember, it takes an earth birth to set the scene for a spiritual rebirth. And let's remember Mother's Day is not only a call for each of us to acknowledge and honor our earth mothers, it's also an invitation for all mothers to honor their contribution to the evolution of humanity's spiritual maturation. In the purest metaphysics of divine being, every mother has served as a sacred host for the incarnation of spirit essence wrapped in the swaddling clothes of earth form and philosophy. It's divinity showing up in drag as humanity. And she's right there. Therefore, every birth is a celebration of the divine, and every mother's a celebration of the sacred, whether you can see it or not. Consider the invisible mom. It all began to make sense. There's the blank stares, the lack of response. Inside, I'm thinking, can't you see I'm on a phone? Well, obviously not. No one can see if I'm on the phone, or cooking, or sweeping the floors, or even standing on my head in the corner, because no one can see me at all. I'm invisible, the invisible mom. Some days I am only a pair of hands, nothing more. Can you fix this? Can you tie this? Can you open this? Some days I'm not a pair of hands. I'm not even a human being. I'm a clock. What time is it? I'm a satellite guy to answer, what number is the Disney Channel? I'm a car to order right around 5:30, please. I was certain that these were the hands that once held books and eyes that studied history and the mind that graduated summa cum laude. But now they had disappeared into the peanut butter, never to be seen again. She's going, she's going, she's gone. One night, a group of us were having dinner, celebrating the return of a friend from England. Janice had just gotten back from a fabulous trip, and she was going on and on about the hotel she stayed in. I was sitting there looking around at the others, all put together so well. It was hard not to compare and feel sorry for myself. I was feeling pretty pathetic when Janice turned to me with a beautifully wrapped package and said, I brought this for you. It was a book on the great cathedrals of Europe. I wasn't exactly sure why she'd given it to me until I read her inscription. To Charlotte, with admiration for the greatness of what you are building when no one sees. In the days ahead, I would read, no devour the book, and I would discover what would become for me 4 life-changing truths, after which I could pattern my work, yes, No one can say who built the great cathedrals. We have no record of their names. These builders gave their whole lives for a work they would never see finished. They made great sacrifices and expected no credit whatsoever. The passion of their building was fueled by their faith that the eyes of God saw everything. A legendary story in the book told of a rich man who came to visit the cathedral while it was being built, and he saw a workman carving a tiny bird on the inside of a beam. He was puzzled and asked the man, "Why are you spending so much time carving that bird into a beam that will be covered by the roof? No one will ever see it." And the workman replied, God sees. God sees everything." I closed the book, feeling the missing pieces fall into place. It was almost as if I heard God whispering to me, "I see you, Charlotte. I see the sacrifices you make every day, even when no one around you is there to acknowledge it. No act of kindness you've done, no sequin you've ever sewn on, no cupcake you've ever baked is too small for me to notice and smile over." You are building a great cathedral, but you can't see right now what it will become. At times, my invisibility feels like an affliction, but it is not a disease that is erasing my life. It is the cure for the disease of my own self-centeredness. It is the antidote to my strong, stubborn pride. I keep the right perspective when I see myself as a great builder, as one of the people who show up at a job that they will never see finished, to work on something that their name will never be on. The writer of the book went so far as to say that no cathedrals could ever be built in our lifetime because there are so few people willing to sacrifice to that degree. When I really think about it, I don't want my son to tell his friends he's bringing home from college for Thanksgiving, "My mom gets up at 4 a.m. in the morning and bakes homemade pies. And then she bastes a turkey for 3 hours and presses all the linens for the table." That would mean I'd built a shrine or a monument to myself. I just want him to come home, and then, if there is anything more to say to his friends, to add, "You're going to love it here. You're going to love it here." Yeah. As mothers, we are building great cathedrals, beautiful mothers. We cannot see if we've embraced the spiritual art of humility. But one day it is very possible that the world will marvel, not only at what we have built, but at the beauty that has been added to the world by the sacred investment of invisible women. Enjoy the grace. Invisible women. Let's remember the first correlate of human culture is woman. And this is not because she is a physical source of human reproduction. So indeed is man. It is because, over and above her role in human physical generation, and in direct contrast to the role of the male, her grasp on the order of human reality is anchored in a special faculty for that innerliness without which all culture is impossible. Man, for instance, bent on actions, always actions, brute actions, can take each and every action, glittering in its efficiency, and hold it up for a woman's consideration. And as in a mirror, women will reflect for him not merely the action itself, its details, its promise, its challenge. She reflects that action within a human wholeness governed by what is vital for our humanness: hope, inspiration, beauty, harmony, trust, self-sacrifice, home, earth, heaven, peace. The primal quality of woman, her association with all the primal forces, waters and winds and oceans, fire and ships and earth, is not a paltry Freudian identity, a sexual twist, nor is it merely man's version of woman as mother and wife and soft flesh and welcoming hearth. Something not of the material order, but something encased in the matter of this human universe shines around the woman's view of life's ever-changing flow of situations and circumstances. It interiorizes a human action and forces a man to think on himself. It elicits an expression of meaning for concrete objects. It liquefies the stiff contours of a merely factual world and brings a smile of harmony and a touch of beauty to what otherwise would be a stiff and still and dumb solitude of events. When we write letters like that, and what's that result in? That results in a humanity that's got the privilege to receive letters like this from a woman, from a kid. This year is not a blouse I bring you, or a nightgown or a bracelet. This year for Mother's Day, I bring you the memories of you that come in a steady pummeling stream, sweetening my life. Remember now with me. It's a day splashed with sunshine, and we're standing on the beach, you and I. The mighty Atlantic is roaring at our feet, and you take my hand in yours, and you tell me not to be afraid. And because you are there, because you are already my constant in a chaotic world, I take the plunge. I began my love affair with the ocean that day, and ever since, I have wanted to thank you. It's a crisp September morning when you send me off to school for the very first time. I don't want to let go of your hand. I fight back the tears that threaten to shame me. But you say it's time, and there are tears in your eyes too. As you turn me over to a smiling usurper named Mrs. Leary. An eternity later, you are waiting at the kindergarten gate. Without words, we congratulate each other on our having made a giant leap. I'm a snowflake in the second grade play. It is, in the language of the theater, a walk-on. But night after night, you sit at the dining room table as your fingers fly over yards and yards of shiny white satin, expertly stitching tiny, shiny silver sequins into place. And on the day of the play, you are there in the first row of the auditorium, seeing only one snowflake. I sense even then that you will always be there to cheer me on. I have never been more right. Through heartaches and earaches, you are there. From the first bra to the last blemish, you stand by. Through the eating jags, the crying jags, the nasty insolence and desperate angst of adolescence, you wait for me. And when I finally know once again who I am, you welcome me back. And on a July morning, we face each other across the coffee cups, across the kitchen table, across the years. It is our last breakfast together when I am still just your daughter and not yet anyone's wife. Later that morning, you adjust the veil I wear, and for a long moment we cry in each other's arms. It is upon us, this irrevocable blurring of endings and beginnings, this certainty that nothing will ever be the same, and we're terrified of capsizing in the murky waters of change. But you are smiling. You are smiling your bravest, most radiant sunburst smile when I walk down the aisle of the chapel. I still cannot imagine how you managed it. We return to the house of my childhood, you and I, after Daddy's funeral. But it isn't home for you anymore. As you step into a new life, you stumble sometimes, but you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and lead the way for us. Even though you cry, Mom, you still remember how to laugh. And again, you teach by example. You are giggling with your granddaughters on a lazy Sunday walk, and suddenly you bend down to hug Nancy, the child of your child. And I want that moment to last, maybe forever. And even though I accuse you of being an outrageous show-off about your grandchildren, even though I chide you for telling me over and over that they are beautiful, bright, and nearly perfect, I want to weep sometimes at the sweet purity of it all. The world is so different now, Mom. And I know when I struggle, it is for you to accept and to endure it, to understand it. You've survived hippies and yippies and yuppies and wars and assassinations and my childhood. We've been joyful together, foolish together, exuberant together. We struggle still, you near the end of your life, me in the middle of mine, to understand that what passes between a mother and a daughter is ragged and anxious, funny and forgiving, maddening and magnificent. But there is still no way to thank you for loving me like no one else ever has. Our bond is marrow deep. So on this Mother's Day, accept my gift of memories. They belong only to you. That's it. Thank you, Father, Mother, God, for the gifts and the grace of moms.